The Matildas will look to let their football do the talking in the wake of the Marty Sheargold scandal. The radio host and broadcaster Triple M say they've parted ways with after his offensive comments about the team. We're now joined by Kate McShea, who represented the Matildas at the Olympics. Good morning to you, Kate.
Good morning.
Kate, can you even sum up your reaction when you first heard his comments?
Oh, look, to be honest, it was a bit of a roller coaster. At first, I was looking to see whether we'd turn the clock back 20 or 30 years, and these were comments, and then he mentioned the She Believed Cup, and I was like, hang on a minute, we're talking about everyday things, you know. I guess it's just disappointing someone of his stature that has such an audience that he could reach was sending such a negative message. I mean, I'm realistic, not everyone loves the Tillies as much as what I do, and, you know, there's always going to be negative comments about them, but someone of his stature making comments like that's a bit appalling, to be honest.
Well, Kate, to be honest, a lot of people love the Tillies. In fact, at the World Cup, they became the most watched TV event in Australian history. We're not even talking about the most watched sport event. They actually eclipsed another great woman in Catherine Freeman. Turns out people do like watching women's sport, and it's really important for any of the girls watching to know that statistically that's the case. But yes, you would have been thinking, we've turned the clock back. Now, when you were at the Sydney Olympics in 2000, if someone had said to you, the Matildas will go on to reach that historic milestone, but women will still face this, what would you have said?
Oh, look, I think you summed it up. You know, the whole nation got behind the Matildas, and it's the most watched event in Australia. So I think, we've got to realise that women's sport, and thankfully, you know, the Australian public has been getting behind women's sport, and, you know, things like the NRLW, the AFLW, you know, the Australian cricket team, and these big sporting organisations are actually getting behind the females. And so to have this comment that, like I said, is like turning the clock back, it's a bit of a, you know, a kick in the guts for these female athletes that are working just as hard as what the males are and putting their, you know, some really great role models, and to have, like I said, someone with such influence to make such derogatory comments is just unnecessary, really.
Kate, sadly, a lot of yesterday was very predictable to me. We had the apology that said, sorry if you're offended, sorry if you took offence, that's just my sense of humour. We've heard those sorts of comments before, but at the end of the day, his company parting ways with him. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, look, I think that sends a message that company's not going to stand for things like that. I think, look, his apology, is he only apologising because he got caught and it's, you know, it's had this media storm, or is he apologising because he genuinely is sorry for the comments that he's made? That's something I guess we may not know the answer to, but I think to see the reaction of the broadcasting company, you know, parting ways with him probably sends a message that thankfully that's not their view, and they do support females and they do support female sport strongly.
Kate, what's your message to girls watching at home? They might be losing hope seeing this. Like, it's 2025. Like, what's your message to them?
I think you've got to be realistic. There's always going to be people that criticise you, but it's finding a way to either, you know, use that criticism in a positive way, use it as motivation. Unfortunately, female athletes have been dealing with these kind of comments their entire careers and probably will continue to, but I think myself as an athlete used to use those comments more as motivation and fire in the belly to prove these people wrong, and I think, you know, the Matildas are a perfect example of what you can achieve. So just ignore the haters and continue on doing what you can and do your very, very best.
Oh, it's sad that you've always had to use that as motivation. I know that feeling. Do you know what really saddens me is all the good men out there that are tarred with this. You know, all the young boys who've, you know, grown up watching the Matildas. A little boy said to me one day, Kate, I want to be a Matilda. And I said to him, actually, you have to be a Socceroo, I think. But, you know, it's kind of similar, not as successful. He was devastated, Kate. So we'll finish on a positive, because what the Matildas have done and how they've changed the face of sport, is that what gives you the most hope after a difficult 24 hours?
Yeah, and look, to be honest, I think you hit the nail on the head there, that this is a minority. A lot of, I live in Brisbane, and a lot of the broadcasters up here really get behind the female athletes and they promote it. And as you said, I've got 2 sons and they wanted to be Matildas as well, so I had to have the same conversation with them. But there's nothing better than rocking up to a Matildas game with a young man with a Sam Kerr or a Tamika Yallop jersey on. So I think we do need to not let this minority tarnish what there is a lot of positivity going on, and there are a lot of organisations that are supporting female athletes, thankfully.
Kate McShea, thank you so much for coming on this morning, because understandably still a lot of women afraid to speak up this morning. We're afraid to complain, right, about this sort of thing. We're kind of taught to not complain too much about this stuff. So thank you for your courage and thanks for coming on the show this morning.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me.